welcome our next presenters to the floor. Doctors Milan Muso and Alexander Morseburg, again, the respective president and treasurer of the Cambridge University Longevity Society. Thanks so much for joining us. Very happy to have you here. The floor is yours.
Sure. Hello, everyone. I'm Milan Muso. As Franco already said, I am actually a researcher, a postdoc here at the Institute of Metabolic Science. But today I'm going to represent, along with Dr. Alex Morseburg, the Cambridge University Longevity Society. I actually was funded in 2017 by Alan Agbev, but then kind of died down for a long time, especially along the lockdown. And me and Alex and another PhD student, we tried to resuscitate this group, and we started organizing some journal clubs, mainly bringing different scientists together. But again, the interest was very narrow. So basically, at this point, we're trying to bring the society at a bigger scale, trying to recruit again. And I'll just give you a brief overview of the Cambridge environment, and Alex will tell you a bit more what we're planning to do along with Longevity.International, who we thank a lot for actually reaching out to us and planning some great projects together. So much like the goal of Longevity.International, we have a lot of research going on here, but not always that well connected. There are wonderful research groups. For example, here in IMS, we're looking at rare mutations and how they could be helpful in telling us how biology of aging works. We have researchers in the Babraham campus looking at the epigenetic aging clocks. At the Sanger Institute, there are people looking at single-cell RNA sequencing of different tissues and how they change during age, or at the EBI, the Bioinformatics Institute, Janet Thornton's group looking at, apart from protein biology, also at how the transcriptomics, the global transcriptome RNA changes in the brains of patients, and whether there are any common changes we could identify. So a lot of this, and also there are plenty of new startups. You might have heard of Shift Bioscience or Age Curve that are also focusing on figuring out some aging biomarkers and how we could combat them. And also in terms of, lastly, the public aspect, we have, for example, the Hughes Hall Bridge Initiative, which looks at actually how public health could be targeted. So not just looking at, so making sure that actually the aging benefits will benefit all of us. And for example, they had a very interesting conference last year about, titled From Cell to Society, about aging. Unfortunately, I'm not very sure all of these people know about each other, and that's where we're trying to come in now. So primarily a student society, but also with some higher goals. And Alex can tell you a bit more about that and our plan for the future.
Thank you, Milan. So again, it's we're grateful to Longevity International and Aging Analytics to inviting us to speak. And in terms of what I'm doing, my role is relatively similar to Milan's, but I'm more on the computational side at the IMS, and I'm of course also interested in the organizational aspect. So what we intend to start with for the coming academic year is starting small with informal socials that will hopefully be able to have in person every 2 to 3 months, to bring people in Cambridge and in Cambridgeshire and the wider environment together that are interested in aging. Another project where we look forward to collaborating with Longevity International is that if you will have a look at the web platform and the longevity ecosystem as it currently stands, there are almost no institutions from the Cambridge area. There are a few groups from Sanger that are listed there who work on hematological cancers, as well as, of course, the aging connection. But there's really not a lot of information about the great work going on in Cambridge. So we want to contribute our knowledge we have, and we'll look forward to contributing to this web platform. Then there are two larger events we want to host. So the one would be a career event for grad students and undergrads, of course, that if you have this interest, let's say as a student in natural sciences, for example, or in computer science, how can you actually, through your work in academia or in industry or policymaking, potentially contribute towards our shared goal, which, of course, as Ian so simply pointed out, is to extend healthy human lifespan. And lastly, we would like to host a discussion panel, which I think it's more about the aspect of how do we justify our work to the larger public, and also how do we deal with criticism, perhaps from certain quarters. So the title would be Justifying Longevity Research in the Age of Climate Change and Global Inequality, where hopefully we could get the philosophy department from the university involved and have a conversation there, and then of course trying to argue our perspective, but also saying that we are open. So I think this would be it for the moment. And I think the way we want to do this is that really we want to build something sustainable in and around the University of Cambridge, which ideally in the long term would also survive without either Milan or me being there. So it's really about sustainability. It's a bit like the industry as a whole, I would say, really trying to think long term. And of course, we are very grateful again for the opportunity, and thank you for your attention. And if you have any questions, just type them in a chat or contact Milan or me via email. I'll now put my mail address in the chat. Thank you.
Okay, thanks so much for that, Doctors Muso and Morseburg.